These days, rising production budgets and decreasing theater attendance numbers diminish the number of risks studios are willing to take. In their search for anything that's a recognizable name, some will move forward on a remake of an existing property, looking to draw in a new generation of audiences. Of course, not all of these are successful, but there's a good chance that some of your favorite films are actually remakes. And this goes beyond some of the obvious ones you know about already. Here are 10 amazing movies you didn't know were remakes. The Magnificent Seven. Most cinephiles know that the latest collaboration between Antoine Fuqua and Denzel Washington is a remake of the classic 1960 Western starring Steve McQueen. But did you know that film was a remake as well? Director John Sturges based his movie on the legendary Japanese film Seven Samurai, which was about a poor village overrun by bandits recruiting 7 samurai warriors to serve as their defense. It's a plot that's as old as cinema itself, and it rarely gets old. In all likelihood, this particular narrative will be used as the template for more movies down the road. It's hard to argue with the results. The Bourne Identity. Doug Liman's spy thriller introduced the world to Matt Damon, the action hero, and revolutionized the genre to the point where James Bond needed a makeover. It was such a breath of fresh air, it's hard to believe it was actually a remake. The first time Robert Ludlum's novel was brought to the screen, it was a 1988 TV movie that remained more faithful to the book than the big screen blockbuster we got years later. Though it's not well known now, the original Bourne Identity still had its merits. Richard Chamberlain earned a Golden Globe nomination for his portrayal of the title character, which is something Damon cannot claim. 3 Men and a Baby. It's a unique premise for a comedy film. 3 guys are forced to take care of a baby that one of their girlfriends left behind without knowing whose it is. It achieved a great deal of commercial success during its theatrical run and was a nice showcase for its leads, which included heavy hitters like Tom Selleck and Ted Danson. As funny as it might have been, Leonard Nimoy didn't come up with the idea on his own. The film is a remake of the French movie titled 3 Men and a Cradle, which was originally released in 1985. Both even got sequels called 3 Men and a Little Lady, but the American one came after 3 years while French audiences had to wait 18.
If I were the man I was 5 years ago, I'd take a flamethrower to this place!
Scent of a Woman. Over time, this film has become more popular for marking Al Pacino's lone Best Actor win at the Oscars than its actual story.
Hoorah!
Which follows a prep school student working as a babysitter for a blind man. Following the pair over the course of a weekend, the narrative can be a little contrived at times, but was overall very effective and earned a considerable amount of acclaim. Fans of the film have the Italian drama Profumo di Donna to thank, as director Martin Brest used that as the basis for his movie. Almost 20 years separate the two, so audiences in 1992 probably had no idea.
Dismissed.
I found my thrill on Blueberry Hill.
12 Monkeys. This heady bit of sci-fi is one of the most memorable offerings of 1995, as it rode primarily on the success of the performances. Brad Pitt in particular was a standout, receiving an Oscar nomination for his unhinged turn.
Colonics for everyone!
Since 12 Monkeys has gone down as a modern genre classic, many don't realize it's a remake of 1962's The Jetty, which was released in France. The key difference between the two is that 12 Monkeys is feature-length, while the French take is a short film that runs for only 28 minutes. That said, there are still similarities, including tragic ends for the hero at an airport. 12 Monkeys is now a television series, so this is one story that refuses to go away. You've Got Mail. They say that Tom Hanks is the second coming of Jimmy Stewart, and he put that title to the test in You've Got Mail. One of his irresistible pairings with Meg Ryan, the rom-com is a modern-day remake of 1940's The Shop Around the Corner, which starred Stewart and Margaret Sullivan. The original film saw the two lovers correspond over traditional mail as pen pals, while the Redux obviously used email and the then popular AOL service as its backdrop. The filmmakers knew what they were doing, as Meg Ryan owns the bookstore The Shop Around the Corner in You've Got Mail. That's a nice bit of homage. Meet the Parents. Serving as a strong vehicle for Ben Stiller and Robert De Niro, this comedy served up the laughs in a huge way and launched a series revolving around the Fokker family. This properly had an extremely different beginning, however, as the original Meet the Parents was an independent dark comedy made for a budget of just $100,000 and only had a limited release in theaters. It was the concept that attracted Universal, and they bought the rights to the film years later so they could redo it for a wider audience. It proved to be a great decision since the remake brought in $330 million worldwide.
Can you deal with that?
The Thing. In 2011, the film The Thing drew the ire of many by daring to mess with a John Carpenter classic from 1982. But did you know that Carpenter's famous movie is also a remake? The directing icon based his film on John Campbell Jr.'s novella Who Goes There, which was first adapted for the screen in 1951's The Thing from Another World. This is one instance where the remake has surpassed its original. Carpenter's movie is considered one of the finest entries in the horror genre, becoming a cult favorite following its disappointing box office performance. When you think of The Thing, you think of Kurt Russell, not Kenneth Tobey.
May I see your invitation? invitation, please?
Sure. Here's my invitation.
True Lies. Arnold Schwarzenegger and James Cameron were one of the most dynamic duos in action when Arnie was in his prime, teaming up on several massive hits. Their last collaboration was 1994's True Lies, where Arnold plays a government agent hiding his spy life from his family. It's one of the more humorous offerings in Cameron's career and was a change of pace for him, but it wasn't exactly original. A few years earlier, French cinema delivered La Totale, an action comedy that had a nearly identical premise. We're sure the original version is fun, but they probably can't top those perfect Schwarzenegger one-liners.
You're fired.
Ocean's 11. These days, when the film Ocean's 11 is discussed, people are talking about Steven Soderbergh's slick crime caper that featured a star-studded cast and became the first film in an eventual trilogy. But George Clooney, Brad Pitt, and Matt Damon weren't the first A-listers to try their hand at playing thieves. In 1960, Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, and Sammy Davis Jr. headlined an ensemble in a film called Ocean's 11, which wasn't very well received. Soderbergh's version was seen as a marked improvement, which is why the original is barely remembered now. For many, Clooney is the only Danny Ocean. Those are our picks for popular movies you didn't know were remakes. Which ones did we miss? Sound off in the comments below and be sure to subscribe to our channel for more fun videos.